This is the Nerdy Things Podcast. This podcast contains strong language, adult themes, and poorly developed ideas. We apologize for nothing. Listener discretion is advised.
Tom Holland is the next It guy.
People hate Tom Cruise the man, love Tom Cruise the actor.
Reboots and sequels, the search for more money.
All that and more in this week's episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 15 of the Nerdy Things Podcast. I am Kevin, joined as always by Jules. Hey, Jules.
Heyo.
And Tim. How are you, Tim?
I'm pretty good. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, it's morning for me still. Is it? Yeah, it's morning for y'all, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
It's brunch.
barely.
Brunch time.
Brunch.
Do y'all brunch? Is that a thing?
Brunch.
I
Brunch is a
brunched
thing,
like
yeah.
last week.
Brunch is awesome.
Brunch is definitely a thing.
Absolutely.
I should definitely go get brunch.
Love me some OJ and sandwiches and bacon and quiche. Quiche is definitely a brunch food.
Yeah.
Mimosas.
Mimosas and quiche.
Absolutely.
That's our next podcast idea. Mimosas and quiche. We'll do a brunch podcast.
We're changing to a food review podcast.
Yeah, there you go. A brunch review podcast. All right. Anyway, so this podcast, Nerdy Things Podcast, that you're listening to right now, is on pretty much everything now. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the main things at Nerdy Things Pod. You can follow us on all those things. We're all different. Each platform is different in what we post, so go follow all of them. And we have nerdythingspod.com where you can link to, there's a bunch of stuff. There's craziness. I don't know. Everything's just going wild. And what else do we have now, Kevin? What did we just launch?
We have a Patreon. We just launched our Patreon. You can link to it from
Tom
our
Holland
website,
is the next It guy.
nerdythingspod.com. You can get there
Reboots
through
and sequels, the search for more money.
patreon.com/nerdythingspod. We're going to be
Braff
posting some really cool
Zach
behind-the-scenes
Braff
stuff. We're going to
Zach
do some
Braff
extra,
Inc.
like
by Gimlet
screaming,
Media.
incoherent rants from Tim. We're going to do movie reviews. We're going to do, Jules has a couple things lined up he's already been talking about. It's going to be spectacular.
You
and
might hear Kevin
most of
sing. I heard. I don't know.
Maybe. But most of it is going to be available to anybody that donates any amount. So, if you have any interest in that, head on over there and, make a pledge.
Yeah, so
Or if your name is William.
Yeah. If you're William, if you want to be a part of our Patreon, it's all there on the website. There's a link there, patreon.com/nerdythingspod as well. You can get there. And if you're not familiar with it, just go, check it out. There's a ton of different things, a ton of people creating things, and it's really awesome. And we're so happy that we're going to launch it. And if you want to be a patron as well, like Kevin said, you can donate at least $1 and support us, or, go check out the different stuff we might put up, some stuff that, some exclusive content. I mean, we got some cool stuff that we have, just ideas about, and go ahead and support us through there if you want to.
That's exactly it.
You can also support us by writing a review on iTunes. I don't know if they do some for Google Play. I know there might be a way to do it on Stitcher, but iTunes is our main one, the main aggregator of all the podcast stuff. And if you do write a review and rate us 5 stars or less, whatever, I'll read it on the podcast. Here's one by Dominic Scolpini, and he says, love it, or she, I don't know, they, whatever. Very funny, great information, and it's a pleasure listening to these guys.
Don't you dare assume their gender.
Super late. It's a pleasure listening to these guys give their opinions on all types of topics. Thank you for listening, and thank you for writing a review. That's sweet, whoever you are.
I won't assume their gender, excuse me, but I will assume their Italianness.
Scolpini, yeah.
You don't have that first and last name if you're not Italian.
All right. Perfect.
Do you want to get into it? Nerdy Things news.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cue it up.
Nerdy news.
At 6 o'clock. What a great week. Again, I mean, I love diving into this and sort of being more aware of what's going on in nerd culture because I'm doing this podcast.
Oh, yeah. All through the week, I'm just like, boom, here's a point. And I find myself like talking it over with people and them being like, no, I didn't hear that. And I'm like, well, I did. And it's something interesting. And I thought you would enjoy it. Like, come on, this is a thing. And I'm like, excited about it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Tim and I often get in fights at work.
See, Jules, this is where Kevin and I are salespeople, right? You say, oh, you didn't hear about this? You should talk with me about it. We go, oh, you didn't hear about this? Turn into nerdy news on the Nerdy Things podcast come this Thursday.
Nudie news.
Nudie news.
News.
At 6 o'clock.
That's going to be on the Patreon. Nudie news.
Yeah. That's the behind the scenes. It's just pictures of me not wearing pants.
Nobody wants to see it.
No, nobody wants to see it. It's actually going up there if you don't pay.
all of those that don't pay, and it's on a different website.
We're just going to email it to everyone in the world that doesn't pay.
If you visit the site without paying, it's just a naked picture of Kevin.
Yeah, it's reverse ransomware.
Oh boy. So yeah, we'll do that. We'll have that for all y'all that are listening and not paying. One thing I wanted to get out of the way, let's say, start in the nerdy news. Something that jumped out to me that came out was this Alex Inc. TV show trailer. If you didn't get to watch it, it's fine. Not gonna miss a whole lot. Zach Braff doing a whole thing, directing it. He's in it, and whatever.
Doing a whole thing or the whole?
No, not the whole thing.
You know what? He had kids, so I'm sure at one point he did the whole thing.
Yeah, the whole thing. That's different, Tim. Jesus,
that's a good point.
It was Zach Braffing about. Like I'm not displeased with it. I'll probably watch it, especially because I love Gimlet and all of their podcasts and all that. So yeah, I'm in.
Okay, so after I saw that trailer and I saw some people talking about it, how they didn't want it to ruin what the podcast set up, I started listening to the Startup podcast, which is what it's based off of, Gimlet Media's Startup podcast. It's a really good podcast, and I listened to the whole season this week. It is really captivating. It's really intelligent. It's a great medium and a great podcast that has a ton of stuff for anybody starting a business, anybody that's interested in podcasting at all. It's a great podcast. And what I got from the TV show is completely different from what I got from the podcast. And I
imagine it would have to be.
I know, but it's so, I don't know, like, oh, it's so, cheesy TV comedy. Oh, he has 2 kids, whatever, what's going to happen and all this stuff. And it's super jokey. And it's like, I don't know if I want that. You know what I mean?
Well, no, listening to the podcast, happens when you have an idea for a TV show and you pitch it to a network and you go through all these steps. So it's this like 1 in a million chance that they even look at it. And then it goes through revision after revision and note after note. And they tell you to do this and they tell you to do that. And by the end, it looks nothing like the original idea. And I think that that's the downfall of a lot of shows is these network execs who want to make their mark and just can't do that by letting something be good and letting someone else be good. They have to have their input on it.
Yeah,
and so this is I'm sure the product of that, where it's here's the idea. Okay, we need to punch it up. We need to make it funnier. Let's bring in Zach Braff, or Zach Braff was already in it, and so it just sort of snowballs, and you get funnier and funnier and funnier, and then it reaches a point where it gets not as funny, and
something
too
else.
much. Yeah, they're trying to aim it at this person, or they're trying to aim it at that demographic.
And I'm not saying it's going to be bad, because I don't know. I mean, it could be something totally different, and it could be very successful, and it might be very funny. But my main focus on this is that they're bringing podcasting to another level. I mean, not them. Another level. I mean, like, because there was Marin, which is good. He's a podcaster. If you haven't listened to Mark Maron talk or whatever, he had a TV series. There's another one called Crashing that.
Sure, but anything we can do to make podcasting more mainstream is really going to help everyone that does it.
But what if this sucks? But what if this one sucks? And it's like, oh, okay, I don't like podcasting. I'm gonna stop. Trying to reach out to this whole whatever podcasting was, and
I think it's going to have a positive effect no matter what happens, because it's making more people aware. It's like no advertising is bad advertising. It's the same thing. People will now have podcasts on the brain a little bit more. You hear the podcast, you say, hey, didn't Zach Braff do something like that? Even if you hate the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's going to move the podcasting needle one way or another, to be honest with you. I think podcasting kind of is what it is. I think people either into it or they're not into it or they don't have time. I don't know that this is going to move that needle. It does look cheesy. I'll give you that. But Zach Braff's got a pretty good track record. So
especially with cheesy.
Right. No, but seriously, like, if you look at, he's directed 2 movies. and which is crazy to me because Garden State was this real big kind of independent hit, had a really big cult following back in 2004. Exactly. And then he doesn't direct another thing until Going Out of Style that came out this year. And I saw that.
I haven't even heard of that.
And it was really funny. Yeah, I'm sure you've heard of it. It's all the old guys rob a bank.
Oh, okay.
Morgan Freeman.
Oh,
there was a whole bunch of TV commercials. Yeah. Morgan Freeman, Michael Caine, Christopher Lloyd's in it.
He's directing that?
Oh, yeah. No, I got a DVR. I don't watch
He directed
commercials.
it.
Wow. Okay.
And I believe did he write it or not? Anyways, I went and saw that movie, and it was really funny. And I didn't even know until I saw the end credits that Zach Braff directed it. And I was like, well, that makes sense. It has his sensibility. Like, I enjoy his thing. And so I have high hopes for most things he's involved with. But it did have that cheesy kind of
TV vibe
to it. So, yeah, and Scrubs was totally the opposite of that. I mean, Scrubs was cheesy, but like in an intentional way.
Yeah, definitely.
It definitely wasn't a normal sitcom cheesy. And this looks like a normal ABC Family sitcom cheesy. So, I don't know. I won't reserve judgment yet, but...
I mean, podcasts are
I can go either
growing,
way on this right now.
Podcasts are growing with listenership every year. I mean, they put out a bunch of... stats and all that a ton of people have heard of it more every year, and it's crazy that we're still not a thing by the large majority. I mean, that's cool, it's whatever, but whenever this comes out, I don't want it to be like, oh, you're doing a podcast, like that's like we're already being shut out for being nerds all the time. Well, we used to, but now people are gonna have this bad taste in their mouth. Now you're gonna have a bad.
Well, hey, you know what? I said it wasn't gonna move the needle, but who knows? Because the whole nerd culture thing that is really popular right now, I owe right back to Big Bang Theory.
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. So
I guess it's possible
if it has legs, if they let it survive the first season, and the show comes into its own. I think it could raise awareness in people that would never have known about podcasts before, like my parents, or I don't even know, but my parents are now aware of it because I podcast. If I didn't, this might do it for them because my dad's always talking about Big Bang Theory.
Yeah. So go check out Gimlet Media's, all that. Gimlet Media, Gimlet Creative, all their podcast stuff is pretty cool. Anyways, what else? What else happened this week?
I saw Tom Holland was cast as young Nathan Drake in the upcoming Uncharted movie. I thought at first when I read the article that it was going to be like, he's cast as the flashback version. They're making a prequel movie for a video game? That's
that goes back to what we talk about almost every week now, about like, these ideas moving into movies. And now, what did we say last time? Metal Gear Solid was going to be a movie. Now a Nathan Drake Uncharted prequel. I don't know, man. It's just Tomb Raider as a gender swapped. It's
so it's Dude Tomb Raider. It's Dude Raider, but I don't understand why it's an early movie. Like, give me. I don't want young Indiana Jones. I just want Indiana Jones. Don't give me I forget who played young Indy, but like, just give me someone who's good. Give me a good story. Start it with the people that bought your game, and don't give me a weird prequel with the guy that plays Spider-Man because you think he's the next big thing and you want to get him cheap.
But that's exactly why they're doing it.
Yeah, no, I know.
I mean, I even think
it's because Tom Holland is the next it guy. Yeah. So, like, that's why they're doing it. Let's just call a spade here. That's they're doing a prequel so they can cast this kid.
Money. And I mean, they already have 4 Uncharted games, so I mean, they definitely have some, thing to work with. So I don't know. Yeah, definitely, because he's a young whatever. And do you want to just go over into the new Amazing Spider-Man trailers since we're talking about Tom Holland?
Sure, that's perfect.
Yeah, because my opinion on the video game movie. I don't think I need to state that one again.
Yeah, go back and listen to our catalog. You hear all of Tim's opinions and all that stuff. Probably, I think it was the episode before this one and the next one. But Tom Holland, Amazing Spider-Man, Homecoming, and they released 2 new trailers. They released a trailer for the U.S. or the Northern Hemisphere, I think, and then they released an international trailer as well, which were different.
Yeah, I think this is great because this is going to save me so much money because I now don't have to go and see this movie. This was it. This was what was missing. This was the last couple of seconds that make the rest of the story make sense. So we're good. I know everything.
Kevin, you weren't going to pay for it anyways.
There's so much that they're giving us. Why? Right before summer? What are you doing?
Yep.
This
I don't
is
know.
ridiculous. They got a
I
whole
don't
ton
know.
of new shots for the movie, a whole new scenes, all that stuff. Go check them out. The international trailer and the U.S. trailer. Go check it out. I think I posted it on Facebook, and it's pretty much everywhere. And yeah, if you want to save some money on watching the movie, just go ahead and see all these trailers. And I'm sure it's the same. You already figured it out.
I'm going to splice them together in order
Ooh, I like that.
so that we can just watch it as the movie.
Yeah, and then put it on YouTube. We get some cash on that.
That's exactly
Or
it.
Patreon. As a patron, you can watch Spider-Man Homecoming.
Yep. You bet.
The Kevin cut.
Oh, but they the one thing I am excited about in the Spider-Man universe is Tom Hardy cast as Venom in a movie coming out next year.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be good.
That should be cool. All right, even though it's Sony, even though they're going to screw it up, I hope it'll be cool.
I mean, who else would have done well as Venom? Do you think?
Dream casting for Venom.
Nobody. Just don't make it.
You don't want a whole movie about Venom?
I love Venom. Tim hates Venom.
It's not. Well, I don't hate Venom. It's not connected to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Why are we?
But Sony thinks that they're gonna make their own universe, maybe.
Yeah, well, they've got the Black Cat Sable thing that they're working on too, which I also don't know that I care about. But I think that if Venom is done right, Venom is like the perfect anti-hero where he's just in total conflict with himself in a very literal way. He wants to murder people, but he also wants to be a good guy.
Every superhero in the world. Two sides to the coin. Can't figure myself out. Complicated emotional issues.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think DC characters have any of that complicated emotional issues. I feel like Superman just wants to be a goody two-shoes, apple pie, clean underwear type of guy, and then all of a sudden Zack Snyder makes him murder people.
No, Superman is in torment between his alien heritage and his existence in the human world. How does he fit in? There's that whole thing. Batman is one of the most tormented characters in the history of comics. I mean, he just really should stop being the Batman and see a therapist. That's really what the show or movie or book should be about. Yeah, they're just as tormented as anybody.
Yeah,
I will say, though, Tom Hardy's on one heck of a streak, though.
Oh, he is.
Yeah.
And he deserves it. He's spectacular.
He doesn't
versatile.
make many bad movies.
No, but I can't think of a better casting for Venom. I think that Tom Hardy has that. I mean, he was a good Bane. Mm-hmm. Even though I didn't necessarily like the way that they portrayed Bane, he did a good job with it.
Yeah, I don't think that was his doing.
No, exactly. And I loved him. What was the one set in the South a while ago that he was in? He was one of the brothers in it. That was a good movie too. I forget that. That was like Prohibition. He was running a moonshine distillery.
Oh right. What was that called?
Cue loud typing.
It was called Tom Hardy Lives in the Woods and Makes Moonshine. Long title, but, really sold the premise.
It worked. It worked.
Exactly.
Oh, but, Sony trying to make that universe is exactly what I've been upset about the past couple of episodes. Like they're doing with Avatar, like they're trying to do with everything else. The next one is the Dark Universe monster movies. Mm-hmm. I don't care.
I'm actually kind of okay with that one.
I want to see a good one. Give me a good one first. Like, give me something that you're working on and work on the others. But give me something.
The Mummy's the first one.
And I don't care about...
They came out with a Danny Elfman score, which is pretty cool. He's back.
Yeah, but the thing is, I think my general impression here is that they've shot this. This movie's about to come out.
Yeah.
I think they think this is good.
I think
that's what I think that they're basing this off.
They're hoping it's good, but this is kind of my point. Is that's tracking for a $40 million weekend, which is not going to be the best ever.
Well, no, it's not going to be the best ever, but it doesn't have to be a $150 million movie every time to warrant other movies around it. This gets back to the whole thing. Box office success doesn't necessarily indicate that it's a good movie. So I think what they're looking at is this movie isn't super hyped because people are associating with the old Mummy movies, but we really think we've got something here. So once people see it, we do have something to build off of. I mean, the cast in this movie is good. Say what you want about Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise does good movies a lot of the time. Mm-hmm. Russell Crowe one of the great actors of this generation playing Dr. Henry Jekyll.
Oh, yeah.
That's already one of the planned spin-offs.
Sure.
So with Russell Crowe as a lead, you automatically have weight in that movie to begin with.
Definitely.
So they've got something to build off of here. I think they've seen the movie. I think they know what they have, and I think they love it. And I think whether it does $200 million in this run or not, they're thinking the people who see this are going to like it, and that's going to create the hype around the next installment of this. I'm actually more in support of the way they're doing this than the way all these others are doing it, because they're just like, from the inception, they're going, oh, we're going to create a universe. Ready? Our first one comes out in 3 years.
Now let's get a director.
No, at least they've got this, and they're like, this is coming out. We think it's good. We're going to build off of this. Go see it. So I think that's a better way to do it.
No, I think you're right, because like all these changes to the Flash director and all this stuff that on movies that they've had planned with air quotes for years isn't the way to do it. But I have heard that they were trying to do this for years, that The Mummy was going to be the first one. It's got a budget of $125 million spent.
Boy.
Once you're figuring marketing, $200 million is not going to make their money back.
Yeah, but 200, even if they made 150, we're talking domestic box office. If they're predicting 40 million domestic opening weekend, it'll cross $100 million here.
No, it will.
In the US. Now add in worldwide, add in Blu-ray sales, it's going to make them money. So, I mean, unless it's a complete flop and that $40 million is a way overestimate. As long as they come in around that on opening weekend, this will be a profitable endeavor with them, and they'll be happy with it. And they're hoping it will launch the next thing.
I just hope they make it good. They got Johnny Depp and Javier Bardem signed up to play characters in Invisible Man and Frankenstein's Monster, respectively. I'm fine with that too. Like, you're right, Russell Crowe, Tom Cruise, those two, it could work as long as they take their time. Slow your roll, do it right. I'll be happy.
But again, I mean, we're dealing with it right now with King Arthur. You said it had everything going for it, and the money wasn't there, which is, of course, we talked about because of it launched within the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, but it could fail. It could not do it, and people could not, be on board with this quote-unquote dark universe. And do you think having the same title as The Mummy with Brendan Fraser and all that, do you think that hindered it, or do you think that helped it by getting it out there for people? Oh, they're making a new Mummy movie. Oh, I got to check that out. Oh, this is completely different. What is this shit? You know what I mean? Do you think it helped or didn't?
Yeah, I think it's confusing.
It hurts it. I think it hurts it.
Yeah.
There's no question in my mind that it hurts it. But there's names involved with this that I think people will move past that. Just my personal opinion.
I mean, I can see that, but it does make it tougher to find information about this movie, because when you type The Mummy, you get Brendan Fraser's stupid mug staring back at you.
But they've done a great job with promotion. The trailers have been in a various type of movies. The trailers have actually been pretty good. Like, I didn't like the Brendan Fraser Mummy, so I heard that this was a Mummy reboot, and I was like, whatever. And then I saw the trailer, I was like, oh, I'm actually kind of interested in this. Now I know I'm a movie buff or whatever, but they turned me around just by going to a movie and seeing a trailer. And that's usually one of the better ways to create word of mouth. I think the trailers have been well placed, and I think they've been well done. They don't give away a whole lot, in my opinion. So
sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm just glad it's set present day, because I'm getting tired of all these movies that are set in the past, so that they'll have this rich universe to pull from when they set the next movie 50 or 100 years ahead of it. I just...
And I just want to throw this out there. Once again, Tom Cruise, people still want to go see him. As crazy as he is, as up and down as some of his movies are. Yep. I mean, the thing is, I think people legitimately hate Tom Cruise. I think as a person now, people are so over Tom Cruise. Like, if you bring up his name and you think about an interview, people go, oh, I would never. He's such a lunatic.
Yeah, no, jumping on the couch, Scientology. You're right, but I don't know him as a person.
In 2015, in July 31st, 2015, Mission Impossible, whatever, 7, 8, 20 came out. It made $195 million domestically. It made $487 million foreign for a worldwide gross of $682 million.
Yeah.
So that's a big success.
He's one of the few I'm willing to look past or get over the fact that he is crazy in person, and I will like him as an actor because he is a better actor than a person.
Right. And people, that's my point, is that I think most people feel the same way. So that's why, this is a Mummy movie, but it's got Tom Cruise's name on it. It's got Russell Crowe's name on it, and I think people are going to go see it, and I think it's a good jumping off point. As long as the movie is good, which apparently Sony feels, or I think that's who's making it. They feel it's good. As long as this is good, this is a good jumping off point, because they're doing exactly what you're talking about, Kevin, in some of these others. They've introduced the Dr. Jekyll character in a Mummy movie.
Yeah.
They don't coincide. This is a way of doing a backdoor trailer for another movie. This is exactly what you have been asking these people to do.
And I'm going to give it a shot. It's, you know, it's coming to where we work. I'll see it for free. It's fine.
So speaking of Tom Cruise, he did say that Top Gun 2 is currently in development. Do you think we need that right now? It's kind of a ways. There's been a few movies that they've said this week that they're in development or they're interested or whatever, and they're a ways away from their actual, predecessor. And what do you think? Being in development, he said he's going to start working on it maybe next year or in the coming years.
Yeah, they're supposed to start filming next year.
Yeah.
Like, this is imminent. This is happening.
I mean, Tom Cruise is still in shape, but I'm wondering how they're going to get, like, the walkers for everybody else that was in the original Top Gun up to the planes so that they can all climb in, because it's been so long.
Well, Val Kilmer signed on.
Oh, boy.
Val Kilmer is signed on for this movie.
I don't know if that's a good thing or not anymore.
Yeah.
Is it
What's
Val
he been
doing
Kilmer
out there?
or is it Fat Val Kilmer?
Yeah.
Well,
there's a
these
difference.
guys go up and down, man. They can get into shape if the money's right.
He's got a year.
There's no question
Got
about
a year
that.
to do it.
I mean, come on. Russell Crowe makes a living of going from fat to in shape. This is his thing now.
No, he does.
Like,
he does.
Yo-yo diet. And whatever diet he's on, he should be doing commercials for. Because he goes from being, like, huge to being, he could kick my ass in, like, 8 months. It's ridiculous.
That's pretty funny.
So Top Gun 2 and Spaceballs 2, hopefully, is going to be a thing.
Yeah, I heard that announcement too. That what is it? The quest for more money.
The quest for more money that they
I'm
said.
in. I am in. I will
Is that
give
the
them
actual
all of
title?
my money. That was, they teased the sequel to Spaceballs at the end of the first Spaceballs
Yeah.
movie. They were like,
Oh,
we'll
okay.
resolve
30
this in a
years later.
sequel.
All right, that's right, that's
Spaceballs
right, that's
2,
right.
The Quest for More Money.
That's
really
That's
hope
funny.
they do.
I was like, if they were going to go with that title, that's actually really funny.
I think they should. I'm in.
Who's involved in it?
It's Mel Brooks.
Yeah, Mel Brooks just said it.
All
He was
right.
like, yeah, well, I'm interested. And it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Apparently, MGM is slightly interested in making this happen. So that's a direct quote.
I mean, they got a lot of material. They got the new Star Wars movies to play off of. They can do a whole
hell
bunch of
yeah.
stuff with that.
Absolutely.
They can even do I don't know, prequel.
Yeah.
Do you guys know when the last time Mel Brooks directed a movie was?
Oh, tell me it was Blazing Saddles.
Oh, no.
No, it was way more recent than that. I mean, do you know when Blazing Saddles came out? Let me ask you that question.
Oof.
Come on, Kevin.
When
You're looking it up.
No, I am going to look it up. But when was the most recent movie he directed?
It was, well, I guess I would only count Robin Hood Men in Tights, which was 1993. He did a movie called Dracula Dead and Loving It in 1995. So it's been 22 years since he's directed a movie. I don't know if he's going to be a director of this. I mean, that may not be what he's saying here, but it's been a while if he is. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's fine. Men in Tights did well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know what? They could always just reboot it rather than doing a sequel. They could do like they're doing with the Resident Evil. I mean,
Spaceballs
Right.
reboot. Boom.
at least more
His
time
most
has
recent
passed.
writing credits. His most recent writing credits are characters for the Get Smart series, which means he didn't write it. He wrote it in 1960 something.
Yeah.
So yeah, the most recent writing credit prior to that was still Dracula Dead and Loving It. So it's been a long time for Mr. Mel Brooks. We'll see what happens with this.
That's pretty funny. But yeah, apparently they're working on the Resident Evil reboot, and
Already.
Mila Jovovich said, "Okay, good luck." So
Good.
Yeah.
But why would
Why?
they do a reboot for a movie that just ended?
has it ended? Has it really?
I think so.
I thought that I didn't see it.
I
'cause
thought
it's
it
a
had ended
video
before
game
that.
movie, but I don't know. dude.
I think they're thinking about going in the direction of the new Resident Evil game, which is, a throwback to how it first started, which is more of a survival horror, sort of franchise. And then it became this whole action-packed thing, which is kind of what happened with the movies. It became so much action, zombie, whatever, all this nonsense. And they are definitely thinking about making it more of a horror thriller movie, I guess. And they just want to use the Resident Evil name, and they're going to do it. And I think they have a director in talks already. And why? What's the point? I don't know.
But this is, you know what? No, this is kind of my point. Like, why reboot this when you have this universe, and within the universe, 20 years have passed? You have an opportunity, if you want to make this into a smaller horror type movie, do that in universe.
Well, see, they don't, because those movies kind of sucked after a while.
Those movies were awesome for what they were.
Oh, okay.
But if you had the events of this movie happening in the background of a smaller, like, we're a small town, I work at an insane asylum, because that would be the plot.
That happened great with Fear the Walking Dead, right? They did it in the same universe.
Totally. No, it didn't. But that suffered from a lot of problems. But if they do this right, and you have in the background the events of the other movies unfolding while you're going through your own survival horror thing, I'm in. Like, that can work. You've already built the world. You've got zombies. We know how it works. You can go from there and make it a great story.
Well, what's going to happen is they're just like, that's too much work. Let's just start over. Okay, sure.
Yeah. No,
Let's
I know.
try this out. We got the name. Okay.
Yeah. Like the hard R reboot of Mortal Kombat that they're working on. Because 20 years later, we need this movie. Spoiler alert, we don't.
Oh, man. That was an interesting movie. We should for the Patreon, we should do a watch of that one, the original Mortal Kombat movie.
The original Mortal Kombat? Okay. Yeah, we'd need plenty of more pledges before we make that happen.
20 patrons.
We can
Get
think
us
about
there.
it.
We'll watch Mortal Kombat, the original, together. Which one?
Can we make a movie?
Yeah.
Let's not just do like a commentary track. Let's make a movie.
The Nerdy Things podcast movie. We're jumping ship.
In.
We're pulling a Zach Braff and
fantastic.
Let's do it, guys. Support us. We want to make a movie. We don't know what it's about.
Who would you
just make it? Help us make a movie.
Who would you cast as yourself, or who would you cast as everybody else?
I'm a phenomenal
No,
actor.
you're the director.
And director.
I'd cast me, only better looking.
I'm the director, the actor, the writer. I am Zach Braff.
Oh.
I am everybody.
Huh. Wow, that could work.
Yeah.
I know. Who else does this kind of stuff? Who directs and writes and acts? That's not true. There's lots of people that do.
You're like the triple hitter. You're the trifecta.
No. You're the next Lin-Manuel.
No. Who else? Somebody else does this. Who else does? It's gonna drive me nuts. Somebody directs. I'm Mel Gibson. I don't want to be Mel Gibson.
No.
But I'm Mel Gibson.
No.
Mel Gibson.
I'm Mel Gibson without the personality flaws, guys. Okay, I'm the talent of Mel Gibson. That's who I am.
You're Mel Gibson without the personality?
No, the flaws in his personality.
Oh.
Like the racism and the alcoholism and all of those types of
stuff. Take all that stuff out. And you got Tim.
True.
Take that stuff out and I'm good to go.
No, I know. Actually, Jules, you mentioned Lin-Manuel because he does, he wrote Hamilton.
Everything.
That's
stars
true.
in Hamilton. He's going to be the voice of Gizmo Duck in the new DuckTales reboot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm in.
I can sing. I can rap. I'm Lin-Manuel.
Have you?
Oh, that's not what we were talking about. Never mind. Go ahead.
Have you guys heard anything about the new DuckTales reboot?
I'm excited about it. I've heard very little about it, but it's DuckTales. Woo! And I'm really excited.
David Tennant is Scrooge McDuck.
Really?
Really?
Yeah.
That's the most
great.
exciting thing to me. David Tennant, Scrooge McDuck. Lin-Manuel, Gizmo Duck. You've got, was it Jenny Slate or one of the they're going to be pumping up one of the female roles in it, and I'm behind it.
Why is this going to be such a big thing? That's really cool, but why?
Did you not wait, hold on, Jules. Were you too young for DuckTales?
It was like at the end. Yeah.
Oh, dude, DuckTales was awesome.
No, I mean, I've seen,
you don't even know then.
I've seen some, yes.
I used to get up Saturday morning early and just watch it. That was back when you didn't know what was going to be on TV.
Oh, boy.
You just have to watch TV. It was the dark
How many
ages.
channels? How many channels was there?
It was on, there were like...
It was on the Disney Channel.
4 channels that worked, and then it was Disney Channel. And I didn't have cable growing up, so I had to like pirate stuff. By that I mean like run a cable from my neighbor's house to my TV. We're talking old school piracy here.
Damn, I just imagine little Kevin.
Dude, yeah. So you've got Lin-Manuel Miranda is in this. You've got David Tennant. Oh, Bobby Moynihan from SNL.
Yeah. That was one of the others.
Yep.
Not anymore,
Danny Pudi.
Yeah.
From Community.
Yep,
He plays one of the kids. Let's see. Mrs. Beakley is... Who are you? I feel like I should know you, but I don't. Who are you?
Oh, Webby Vandercrack, Kate Micucci. She's
right.
She's one of the ones from
Garfunkel
and Oates that we were just talking about at work the other day.
Yep. Beck Bennett, also from Saturday Night Live. Oh, he would be a good Launchpad McQuack. I like that. That's a good casting.
Ben Schwartz.
Yep. This is promising. I liked it.
I'm in. I'm in 100%.
Speaking on Lin, I think he is just a really good guy in general, and it's really hard not to like him because you see like him do some interviews, and he's on a bunch of other stuff. He did a guest cameo on the My Brother and Me TV series, which is another podcast turned TV series, which is actually pretty good. But he's winning so many awards and all that. He's just such a good guy in general, and he did Hamilton and all that stuff. So
he did a killer cameo in How I Met Your Mother too. Do you guys remember that?
No,
I don't
It
remember.
was in the last season. It was when Marshall was on his trek to get to the wedding, after he got kicked off the flight.
Yeah.
And he was on a bus. And it was the episode where he rhymed everything because he was trying to get his son to sleep. And then the passenger who he was talking with the whole time was Lin-Manuel Miranda, and he comes out with like these sick raps out of nowhere. That's hilarious.
I'm gonna have to rewatch that episode. I
It's
love
a really good one.
If you guys haven't seen Moana, you have to. That is
I've heard it's really good.
It's a great. It's a wonderful cartoon.
Great
I think
animated
it should win
movie.
awards. Yeah, I mean, as far as animated movies, this is a better movie than most other movies. I feel like it should win awards for that. The soundtrack though is just absolutely spectacular. I bought it. I don't buy songs. I bought the soundtrack to Moana. It's one of 3 soundtracks that I own. It's that Awesome Mix Volume 1 from Guardians 1 and the Muppet Movie with Marshall from How I Met Your Mother.
Another good one.
I guess let's get through this one really quick. Destiny 2. I just want to say it. Destiny 2 is going to be released in September 8th this year. A bunch of new stuff is coming out with it. There's going to be a beta that's going to be dropped in Q2 on summer of this year. You're not going to be able to bring over a lot of your stuff from the previous game, which kind of sucks. I don't know. Are y'all interested in the new Destiny or any?
No.
Bigger planets, more stuff to do,
Nope.
Maybe more story, hopefully. Because the first one kind of lacked a lot of story.
Sorry, it's not on Nintendo, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just gotta say it. News. Destiny 2. I put a lot of hours into it, so I feel like I needed to give it at least 10 seconds of the podcast.
That's fine. I will try not to cut that out of the podcast.
Yeah.
Jules, go as long as you want on it. Just because we don't have an opinion doesn't mean you can't
exactly.
talk about
No,
it.
I mean, I don't
hold back.
No, I really don't care either. I just felt like I'm obligated to say something about it because I did put a lot of hours in the first one, and then I just stopped. So, Destiny 2, go let us know. No, actually, don't let us know. Don't tweet us about it, please. I don't want to hear it. What's next?
One sad thing I did want to bring up was that Roger Moore, one of the James Bonds,
Definitely
died at the age of 89 this week.
Mm-hmm.
Made me a little
Sad
sad.
day.
Yeah, all the other James Bonds kind of commented on it too. So that was nice of them, but kind of sad that he is gone after his battle with cancer.
Yeah, and speaking of death, we had Zack Snyder stepped down from Justice League after the loss of his daughter in March, which puts Joss Whedon at the helm of Justice League for this year.
So I read a few things. What is he gonna do with that? What is he in charge of now? I read somewhere that they're gonna do some reshoots and he's kind of in charge of the reshoots, or are they done with it and he's just kind of editing it up at the end, or what is he doing actually? Do you know?
I don't know for sure. I do think it is going to be, cleanup at this point, because it is. I mean, the primary photography is done. There's not much he can do if they don't have something good to salvage it. And so I hope he's not just putting his name on a flaming train wreck on a sinking ship.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what'll be interesting is, they brought in Ben Affleck, and you assumed that Affleck was going to take over the DC cinematic universe.
Yeah.
And then apparently Ben Affleck was unimpressed and has decided, how quickly can I bail?
Right.
Can I get out of these things? Can I not direct this movie? So it'll be interesting now that Joss Whedon is involved. I know he was supposed to. What was the other movie in the series he was already rumored or contracted to be involved with?
I don't know.
What was it? There was it Batgirl or Batwoman?
Yeah,
or
there
whatever?
you go. That one. Batwoman.
One of the spin-offs. Yeah, he was already rumored or possibly going to be involved. So I mean, this is a guy who's got Marvel experience. I guess if you're looking at this like a corporation, he's been part of a successful organization. He knows what this should look like to build the culture and to build the plan. So
absolutely.
It'll be interesting to see if he kind of continues on with this, or if he gets involved and basically pulls an Affleck and goes, get me out of here.
Yeah. No, I know. It like that will be my barometer to use going forward, because I'm willing to believe that Wonder Woman is going to be a good movie. I am not willing to believe that Justice League is going to be a good movie. But after that, I'll use that as my gauge. What his reaction is going to tell me the future.
Right. Like if he's all in and they make the announcement, due to the unfortunate circumstances with the Snyder family, Joss Whedon will be helming the DC cinematic universe going forward, then I think you kind of get this idea that this might be salvageable. This might be, a string of movies that could be pretty good because Joss Whedon's a talented dude,
Sure.
But if he just kind of does this, he's still just directing whatever movie it is he's going to direct, or he's kind of wishy-washy about that even, then you kind of got to go, cut it off. Done. Kill it.
Yep.
Kill
it with fire.
So, yeah.
Burn it down. That was a dark portion of our podcast. We got real.
For sure.
We got now.
Well, you know what? Let's speaking of being dark and all that, let's get into the main topic.
Sure. Let's do it.
The main topic.
Because that was a dark movie. The franchise when they first started with Alien. Because our topic this week, with the release of Alien Covenant, I went to see it in the theater. I know Tim did not.
He was the only one. No. I thought about it real hard. I was like, nah, I kind of want to sleep. I'm okay.
That's probably the smart move.
Especially after what I kept reading about, about this movie. Well, I don't know. Do you want to talk about the franchise first and then this movie? Because
let's build up to it. So we're gonna have. I'm not gonna worry about spoilers for anything up until Covenant. So if you haven't seen the Alien franchise, if you haven't watched it, I'm sorry, we're going to spoil it. When we get to Covenant, we'll have a little conversation without spoilers. I'll put time codes down in the notes if you want to skip this and watch it. But really, why are you listening to this without having seen the movie?
Guys, I saw Alien this morning.
Good. So
I know something.
Tim hadn't watched Alien prior to this morning.
Oh.
I had never watched anything Alien. I saw Prometheus. I'm sorry. I saw Prometheus. I don't remember what it was about really, except for some pale-colored guy drank some black liquid and fell into a waterfall.
Yeah, that was kind of important. But,
and it spawned many tragic events in real life. But I have never seen Alien, and I woke up this morning and I watched it, and you're right, it was dark. It was in outer space.
Yeah.
There wasn't a whole lot of light.
It's a horror movie. Like, it is. At its core, Alien is a true horror movie. The tagline is, in space, no one can hear you scream.
Right.
And really, and it did a good job being creepy in that.
Yeah.
It was actually really good. Now I get why this has been a thing for 40 years. Ridley Scott's the man.
Yeah.
I love that guy.
Huge cultural impact. Good. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Why do you think this was such an impact on pop culture and it's still seen today? And there's still even movies out that are coming out, but why do you think it had that impact? Why do I know that in space no one can hear you scream? Why do I know that before the movie? You know what I mean? Why do people know about Alien? What was the whole main thing? Was it just because it was some creepy shit and you never seen an alien burst out of a stomach before? Or what do you think it was, really?
I think it was that. I think it was the fact that here you have this, it's humans, it's us. We're technologically advanced enough that we're traveling through space in this giant ship.
And still somewhat believable future, It's
it's this dirty, dark, like Star Wars-y, old history future where everything is grimy and dirty and nasty and awful and breaking down and it's just people hauling ore because we still have to mine things because, living is dirty. And yet we're vulnerable. Like we get onto this planet. They send the crew down to the planet that sent out the distress beacon, and they get down there and they find the eggs, and one of them attacks one of the characters in this movie, lays eggs in his throat, and it bursts out through his chest. Like, this is an invasion. This is such a personal, like, in your personal space, terrifying nightmare scenario. And I think it was very, very well executed in that. And then you have all the phallic-looking imagery. The aliens look like penises. The facehuggers look like vaginas.
Yeah, I think that's what it was, mainly. Just all the dicks and vaginas.
I'll say this. I think Ridley Scott's a super talented dude, and this was kind of like his thrust into the limelight. Like, he's a very good director, and he creates moods really well. And I think that in the late 70s into the early 80s, it was a time where space movies that took place in outer space, went from being cheesy, futuristic, costume wearing, spoofs, or, just something that was trying to be serious but couldn't because it just looked cheesy, to serious directors, serious movie makers making serious movies that took place in outer space. There was a lot of that going on in this time frame, and obviously Star Wars, but there was, serious movies that were taking place in outer space. And I think this just kind of fell in that right time frame. Mm-hmm. My biggest issue with the movie was the thing that allows all of it to happen is the stupidity of the people involved.
Every time.
Everybody in this movie, like,
every time.
They had no business being on this planet. Like, these were not scientists, okay? They had no method to any of their stuff. They took no precautions. I mean, a guy had an alien attached to his face, throwing junk inside of him. He miraculously wakes up. The alien being is supposedly dead, and they invite him to breakfast.
Everything's fine. Everything's cool.
They just go in there, start talking to him, patting him on the back. They don't leave him in quarantine.
No.
They just invite him to breakfast.
Yeah, but
like,
to be fair,
what is that?
They're space truckers. They're not scientists.
I know that.
Like,
but
they're
that's my
long-haul
point.
truckers. They're paid to just sit in a pod and pick up ore. And I kind of get it.
No, as soon as they saw the eggs or the spaceship, what they should have done was turned around, go back on their ship, and go, hey, Earth, we got something big out here, but we need qualified people because we don't know what the heck we're doing with this. So bring in some scientists.
No, man, that happens every day.
I'll tell you where we are. Bring back the scientists.
Because
they can do this stuff.
I mean, I totally get it. If that was me, if I was in that situation, I show up there with a distress signal, and I see that, I'm going to nope right the fuck out of there. I'm done. I'm sorry. Back into space. I don't care what it costs me.
Talked about it earlier, brunch.
Yeah. But seriously, like, I can totally picture, like, so set this on Earth, make it a little bit smaller. I can totally picture some long-haul trucker driving down the highway, and he discovers
seeing some weird
a spaceship on Earth. And do you think he's going to call for backup, or do you think he's going to walk into this thing and go, what do we got here, and figure it out? Like, I think he's going to start kicking things and poking at things, and I think that this is exactly what that was.
That's probably what they based it off
honestly, in today's culture, I think he's going to take a bunch of pictures of it, get in his truck, drive to town, call TMZ, and go, hey, how much money will you pay for some of the coolest stuff you've ever seen?
Yeah, look at this one. I got an Instagram filter on it.
See, now
Right?
you can tell that Alien was in an alternate reality than ours, because that's kind of how it would end. Yeah, it would just be like, hey, look at this one.
But that's the other funny thing about this movie is, like, in 1979, they had this, imagery that what year does this take place? It's not far into our future right now, right?
2020.
Yeah, no, it was where was it?
2037, maybe? Does that sound right? I mean, am I off here?
2020 or 2030, around there. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's say it's not far off from our present future, and they imagine that we have truckers in space. B, we know about aliens, but that we don't have screens that will render multiple colors, or GPS tracking systems that can actually show things more than blips and dots.
No, I know.
Like, it's so funny how, like, evolved the imagination could be for what we could potentially accomplish by this time, but how limited their scope of view was for what it would actually look like.
And
to be fair, there's no proof in this movie that we know of other alien life.
Well,
there's nothing.
No, the robot says something like, we've never seen anything like this one before, or something like that. And there were several inferences made.
There's also a line, and I don't remember if it's in Alien or Aliens, which is a terrible way to name your movies.
Right.
But there is a line where they say something about sex with a Rigelian girl, or whatever it is. And but there's nothing in that absolutely tells you they know aliens. It could be a girl from that planet, and that we've never encountered anything like this before, because it's an animal and we've just never encountered the animals. There's nothing in it that tells you they do know definitively about alien life.
Okay, I agree with that. However, I'm choosing to believe that they do based on the inferences that but nonetheless, they still imagined us capable of much more than we are at this point. yet had no visual reference for what that could possibly look like, other than blips and dots and beeps and lights. You know what I mean?
No, I know that's the problem with predicting the future in this way, because Star Trek
Right.
did the same thing, where you get Star Trek that has the little flip phone Nextel phones that they used in the original Star Trek, and then Nextel stole that idea from them, and then it's like which came first, chicken or the egg?
Push to Star Trek.
Push to Star Trek. Yeah. So why can Tim watch this movie again or for the first time today and it still be amazing? Is because the practical effects and the way it's shot, it does play on your general fears, a generic fear of, whatever, the dark or tight spaces or, suspense and all that. It plays off of that, and the practical effects that are not all CGI. I mean, there is some in Aliens and all that, the rest of the Alien franchise and stuff, but a lot of practical effects are used, and it's so great to see that, and it does make it feel real, and it does bring you into that world, even in 2017, even now.
No, it does, because Alien, the first one, 1979, is coming off of the heels of all of these horror movies and all of these other movies where I think they're sort of really visceral and body focused, and they don't show a lot of what happens. You have to imagine it, and I think that works because that's a trick in sales too. If we can make someone imagine what we're trying to sell them in their life and how they're going to use it, it starts to become part of their thought process. And I think the same is true with this. Rather than show every aspect of this, if you show the alien chest burster and then it runs away, I don't then need to see it walking down the hallway and growing and becoming more and more terrifying. You can just show it to me a little more terrifying in poorly lit clips as we're running down a hallway later, and I'll fill in the rest in a very terrifying way.
Yeah.
Especially as it pertains to fear, I think the mind is much more powerful than somebody else's vision of reality, because only you know what you fear the most. So when you leave something to the imagination, you let the individual person scare themselves, which is so much more powerful.
Yeah, and I think that's where they're messing up, and I think that's where a lot of people are thinking that Scott's messing up, because he is giving a whole lot of backstory with Prometheus and he said he's going to make 3 of them: Prometheus, Covenant, and then Awakening. All of them prequels to the actual Alien series now, and they are his vision, and it is what he thinks about how the aliens started and all that. But that's a lot of information, and I would rather just think of the worst thing possible, how they were created and all that, because like I think, Tim, you were saying, your mind creates the fear better than somebody else's rendition of it. And him bringing all this backstory and all this other stuff, and it's really cool. Yeah, it's cool, but maybe some people are thinking that it lessens the alien.
No, it does, because here's the thing. If you have a really cool idea and through some fluke of the universe, you're able to execute it properly, which is, I think, exactly what happened here. Cool idea, properly executed. You had that idea. I don't need to see what came before that idea, because you're coming up with it after that idea. Mm-hmm. If the prequel was the better idea that you wanted to show me, you would have shown me that, or at least tried to show me that. But you didn't. We kind of joined Alien in the middle of the story. We don't know how these eggs got on that planet. We don't know how that giant alien in the telescope-looking thing on that ship got there and died, and it doesn't matter. It's
and I even think,
not the story.
I even think that he said, or I read somewhere, that he didn't really have a full storyline for them either at making Alien, and after what everybody else did with all the other movies, then he was just like, oh, okay, this is kind of a thing. We're talking about Alien, Aliens, Alien 3, Alien Resurrection, the alternate timeline of Alien versus Predator, those 2 movies, and then now, which is quote unquote canon, the 3 movies that are going to be coming out. One that's already come out, Prometheus, Alien Prometheus, Alien Covenant, and then apparently, or maybe, Alien Awakening is either in between Prometheus and Covenant or after Covenant. I read both going either way, whichever they decide is going to come out. But
well, look at this, guys. I mean, in terms of the backstory and all that kind of stuff, I mean, Alien came out in 1979. I think Ridley Scott made a great horror movie, and that's what makes Alien so good.
Yes.
But the next one didn't come out until 1986, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And that was James Cameron, right?
Right.
So Ridley Scott, he didn't have anything to do with the continuation of this franchise. You know what I mean? Like this, I don't think that was his decision, so to speak. I think he probably got paid for it, which I'm sure he was happy to take the money. But I don't think this was his intent from the beginning. I think he's now gotten involved because he's like, oh yeah, I got some cool ideas now. Technology is different, blah, blah, blah. But I don't think that lessens the first movie, so to speak. I think the first movie stands alone as what it was. It was a space set horror movie. Now he's getting into this whole other thing, this story of the aliens themselves and of the creation of life and the world. And, you know, you can decide whether that's good or bad, but I do think that's decidedly different from what his intention was when he set out to make Alien, which really introduced us to Ridley Scott for all intents and purposes as a movie director.
Right. But my problem is that the other movies exist. So you got James Cameron makes really what is a space war movie.
Which is very action-packed, yeah.
No, it is. But if you take the aliens in that and you change how they look and you take Sigourney Weaver and you put in a different actress, you take away the backstory of Alien, and this movie still works.
Right.
You know, like and the fact that it has the aliens in it just enriches it, and it factors in because it's the same planet that Ripley was on, that they found these aliens on, and there's a colony now, and then that colony found the ship, and so they all became infected. That's fine. It's sort of secondary, but it expands the story. My problem with Prometheus is that it doesn't. I mean, they came out and specifically said it wasn't related to Alien. They said that it wasn't a prequel to Alien, and then it was a prequel to Alien. So if you're making a different movie, make a different movie. If you're making a prequel, make the prequel, but make a prequel. Tie it in. Yeah. Don't give me this half-assed, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't.
Do you think that they were saying that because they wanted that to be a reveal in the movie? Do you think that's possibly why they went about it that way?
But I maybe, and I think that thinking is bullshit. Because
there's so few. I don't know. I kind of respect that because in today's internet culture, social media culture, it's really difficult to keep secrets about movies, and it's really like the Blair Witch Project is my gold standard for when I was in high school. That was a cool movie to go see because it was urban legend around it. Ooh, this is based on a true story. Blah 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 blah, so on and so forth. And you went in there like truly wondering, what was I going to see? You know, you can't do that now. So there's so few in-movie reveals that really are interesting, shocking, surprising, or that I don't know about going in. So if his intention was to kind of throw people off the scent, and then in the movie you're like, oh, look at this. This is actually has to do with creation of the aliens. I actually think it's kind of cool.
Yeah,
I give him credit for that.
But my problem is everyone knew it was a prequel to Alien. That's why we were asking the question. We already knew. And then he says no, and then it is. It's bullshit. It's like the ending of Lost, which I'm not going to spoil for everybody, but the same thing happened.
Don't say that.
No, we're going to have this fight then.
Bull. I'm not prepared. I've worked too much lately.
All right, we'll have this fight on another episode, though.
Guys, that's a whole episode.
That's a whole episode.
But what I was going to say to Tim's point, it is very cool whenever there's a whole reveal, because that did happen with me this week. Because I started, like I said earlier, I started the Startup podcast, which I finished the first season of it, which is like the first story arc. And they're going through this Alex Bloomberg. He's creating a whole podcasting network, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. Oh, it's made by Gimlet, pretty cool, whatever. But then after a few episodes, it's like, oh, this is about him creating Gimlet. I've heard his other podcast or other podcasts on Gimlet, and I was like, whoa, this is really cool. I didn't even fathom to think about this is actually the start of Gimlet Media. And I was like, oh my goodness. So that made it so much better, and that's a good way of doing it.
This is exactly my point. Even knowing that it's the prequel, you're going to have people like Jules who don't know it, and the reveal still works. That's fine. You're ruining it for the people who already know the content, and those are the people who already know the content. So what's the difference?
I get you. I hear you. Hey, can I, just before, because I know I'm not going to be able to talk like super intelligently about the rest of the Alien movies, can I just talk about the weird directorial career of Ridley Scott?
Yeah.
So this guy does Alien in 1979. Boom! Look at me. This is a great movie. Follows that up with Blade Runner in 1982, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And then he does a couple of like really mediocre things in the 80s. He does Thelma and Louise was kind of a departure for him. 1991, well-regarded movie. But really the next thing of consequence is G.I. Jane in 1997, which is questionable in and of itself. But then, now this is the year 2000. He was born in 1937. Can somebody do some math for me? How old was he in the year 2000?
Super old.
He was 63.
Okay, so he goes from, in the late 70s, early 80s to being like this really hot director to being like 60-something. And he goes Gladiator, Hannibal, Black Hawk Down, Matchstick Men, which is a very good movie.
Yeah.
A Good Year, American Gangster.
What happened?
then we get into Robin Hood, which was okay, Prometheus, which was okay, and then The Martian in 2015.
Yeah.
But like from 2000 until 2008, he directed like 9 really good movies.
He was working
Yeah.
on
That's
them.
crazy. How does that happen?
He was working on them all through his years, and then finally
I
launched
guess
them all.
so. Like, how do you go 20 years almost without making anything that's like really great to making Gladiator one of the best movies ever made, and then following that up with hit in a 7-year, 8-year span? That's crazy.
No, that's a great point. I mean, he's got skills, but I think it's just not in larger scope of thought processes.
And that might very well be true.
You can have a great idea, and that's fine. Like, that's perfect. You don't then have to have the same idea again. You can have other ideas. You can have other visions. You can take things in other directions. Super cool. I mean, I love Aliens, the second one, because James Cameron had a much different vision for how this should play out, and I think it's not a horror movie in the same way, but I think it's a great movie. I think that it does start to get weak around Alien 3 and Alien Resurrection, which we don't even really have to get into that much. Alien 3 is
The ending of it, sort of.
Yeah, it's such a contrived, like, oh, look, we have the main character back, and she's the only one that lived again. Yeah. And also, we thought we killed them all, and we didn't, and now it's a threat. Ooh. Like, I just feel like that was a real reach for it.
Yeah.
And even more so with Alien Resurrection, when they clone her and they clone the alien in her as well. That's not how genetics work. Thank you, though.
So, yeah. So, I mean, you were saying that is, like, oh, she's the only one that survived and all that stuff. And people were saying that the newer movie, Alien Covenant, was very predictable as well. So it is kind of in line for the Alien franchise after Alien and Aliens, that it could be super predictable. Let me just read this real quick from the BD podcast, the Backseat Directors podcast. They're talking about Prometheus and Covenant. In one word, uninspiring. I was a big Prometheus fan and was hoping for more of a Prometheus sequel. This was not it, and I was disappointed. The movie was too predictable, and its predictability made the movie not scary at all. Oh, what could have been, but never will be. I think we find that same idea in Alien 3, Alien Resurrection. Oh, okay, this is, they're going to bring back Sigourney Weaver. All right. Oh, she's the only one that survived. Oh, they cloned her. It's kind of too predictable, and it's like, okay, what are we doing here?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of sad to hear that review from Backseat Director. I actually just started listening to his podcast after he commented that, and it's pretty fucking good.
Awesome. Well, we got a
I'm gonna try to get on there at some point.
We got a lot of mixed reviews as well. The Make Movies Great Again at Make Movies Great podcast tweeted us and said they enjoyed it. It missed some opportunities to build from Prometheus, but overall it was solid. Love a good android fight. Cheers. I don't know what that means.
I didn't like Prometheus as much as some of these other people because I was so frustrated by the fact that I just want to know how it connects or how it doesn't. If you're making a new movie, make a new movie. Prometheus could be such a cool idea, but I feel like it was nitpicked by the director and by the studio before we even saw it, and they took out all of the stuff that would have explained all of the motivations for all of these engineers, that the aliens that did all of this bad stuff. Like, I still, having watched it and having seen Alien Covenant, I don't know what that black goo was. I don't know why the black goo in Prometheus existed in the first place.
Yeah.
In the next movie, you may find out.
In Awakening, Awakening's the
God.
prequel to Prometheus. See? That's what they're going to do. The Awakening, Aliens Awakening, right before Prometheus.
But, like, none of that makes sense at all. And that translates into Covenant as well, and I'll definitely get into that. But, like, I don't understand why you would have this cancerous black goo that when you eat it, it destroys you and seeds your DNA across a planet. And then I don't understand why, when that goo is used by David the android, it creates a proto-xenomorph thing in some people and does other things to other things. Like, it wasn't consistent, and it doesn't show me any sort of design or life, motivation behind this virus, for lack of a better term, because it seems to do different things based on how they want to write it at that moment.
And yeah, Kevin, you said before, if you want to make a thing, make it consistent throughout the whole thing, you know? So,
right.
Yeah.
You know, if you look at Alien, so discounting Prometheus and Covenant, if you look at Alien, you have egg, you have facehugger injects baby into stomach, baby comes out. All right. If you look at Aliens, that baby, that alien, that xenomorph, if there isn't a queen around, one of them can become a queen. Great. Like, this is something that happens in nature to an extent. Each part of this is something we have seen before. So it's just expanding on that. And as far as life cycles go, that makes sense. Queen lays eggs, eggs create facehugger creates baby. So it's almost like a butterfly type thing when you go from facehugger to baby in the stomach, in a way. You've got the queen laying the eggs. Bees, if there are no queen bees, a regular drone will become a queen. Great. Like, I've seen this. But then you get Prometheus, where you get the black goo that creates the fully formed xenomorph. And then you had eggs, and you have this, and then it doesn't make any sense. When you get into Covenant, there's more of it, and it makes less sense.
Yeah, so why don't we go into you talking a little bit about Covenant,
right,
the newest
there.
movie that
We're
just
into
came
Covenant.
out. I don't know if you're I don't know if you're going to give a full review or anything, but kind of just go an overview.
For non-spoilers, let's do this without spoiling anything. So it's a crew on a ship. They're a colony ship heading out, trying to land on a planet so that we can sort of spread out and be people. They got 2,000 people in there, and for some reason 1,800 embryos, even though embryos take up less space and you'd think they'd bring more of them. That's fine. So they receive a distress signal. They go to investigate, and hilarity ensues. That's about all I have to say without getting into spoilers.
It's a comedy?
Oh, yeah.
It
was. I laughed through the whole thing.
Oh, good. And when did we stop spoiling movies?
Well, you know what? We're going to spoil it. I'm just putting in a little timestamp right here. So I'm going to spoil it from this moment on.
Yay!
If you're still listening and you don't want it spoiled, you're an idiot. Stop listening. So, Tim, you actually hit it on the head with Alien. These are the most incompetent people I have ever seen. I don't know how these people get out of bed in the morning without hitting their head on the wall, because every decision they made was the dumbest decision I have ever heard of. Not even getting into the science of the spaceship and the fact that the engines wouldn't be on if you're traveling, or at the very least the ship would be traveling in the other direction so that it would be slowing down, or the fact that they let out a solar sail to gather solar power, which isn't how a solar sail works. But just the fact that these people were completely incompetent, and they sent a ship down to a planet for a distress signal that should not have existed. And when they get there, they're taking absolutely no precautions against any sort of bacteria or viruses or anything. And they leave the ship, and I swear the acting captain, because, spoiler alert, James Franco, the captain, you only see 6 square inches of his face in this entire movie. And
wait, James Franco was in this movie?
No, he isn't. He was supposed to be. He's in all of the media leading up to it. But in the first couple of minutes of this movie, his pod, for some reason, bursts into flame, but only inside the pod. And so all you see is literally 6 square inches of his face, because he's wearing a sock over his head. 6 square inches of his face. He never says a word. He burns to death, and they shove him out an airlock. And so the acting captain gets down to the planet, and I swear he said to one of the women he left on the ship, lock it up, don't let anybody in, don't let anything in until we come back. And she just kind of hangs around underneath the ship with the door open. And I'm just getting itchy the whole time because I'm figuring something bad is going to happen. And it did.
Was the acting captain of the ship Kenny Powers?
No, he was not.
Oh, so cause that would make sense because Kenny Powers is pretty stupid.
No, it would, but like that was the other thing is I wanted to see some of that interaction between the better acting Franco and Kenny Powers. You know, I hate them, but I love them. Like I love how they interact.
Oh, I love both of them.
And I think that this could have been a better movie if you'd just let it breathe a little bit and actually not killed off James Franco. But they're walking around, they're literally tromping through the woods and sniffing things and jamming at plants, and they mention it but don't seem freaked out by the fact that there's like actual Earth plants on this planet millions of miles away from Earth.
Defo not scientists again.
Really. They're like, oh, this looks like wheat and it's been cultivated.
Let's eat
it. No, it's in a field. It definitely hasn't been cultivated. It's a wild field of wheat. That exists, right? So they get infected. 2 separate people get infected at 2 separate times. Alien bursts out of this guy's back for some reason instead of his front. And that's because he was infected by the virus and not by the face hugger, which apparently creates different things, which is my big complaint. And one of the women starts randomly shooting an automatic shotgun around the ship until it explodes, killing her and 2 other people that were already dead by the alien and stranding the rest of the people on this planet. Kenny Powers is up in orbit, sitting there going, oh, golly, I don't know what happened. And his wife was the one that blew everyone up.
He should have thrown a fastball at their face.
So it was a comedy.
No. But it was this like weird, like everybody else gets attacked, and then David from Prometheus shows up, and he interacts with the new robot android version of him, which is Walter. It didn't work for me.
Yeah,
it
sounds
they
like
fight
a whole
off
lot.
the aliens.
Why?
You find out David killed the engineers, like all of them, just for no reason, just by releasing their own black goo back on them. And it didn't have the same effect on them then that it had on the one that we see at the beginning of Prometheus. And it didn't have the same effect that it has on anything else.
So why should I care about this movie? Just, I guess, sum it up.
This is why I told you not to bother seeing it. Despite being the topic of this episode of the podcast, I'm waving people off of it.
Okay, cool.
Do not go see this movie.
It did reach number 1 at the box office because Guardians kind of slipped. It's been like a month since Guardians came out, or not even a month, but
right. It barely beat a movie that's been out for a month.
Yeah, and
the nerdy boys say, "Don't go see Alien Covenant."
Yeah. So and not a lot of people are happy with it. I read all that stuff, so that's why I was like, should I go see it? No, okay, well, yeah,
no.
What
the interesting thing to me is I'm looking at the IMDb for Alien Covenant, and next to Fassbender, the 2 most prominent people on this list in the cast is James Franco and Guy Pearce, who are both listed as uncredited in the movie.
Ooh.
Yeah, because James Franco's, it was only 6 square inches of James Franco's face.
Yeah.
And old Guy Pearce in old man makeup, but not as much old man makeup as Prometheus, but still more than he is now, because for some reason they cast him as an old man in Prometheus. You know what? So much of these movies, Prometheus and Covenant, take place in behind the scenes bullshit or in little vignettes that we have to watch before the movie. Like, honestly, seeing the crew interact, if you haven't seen it, there's a little vignette with James Franco, Danny McBride, and all of them. And seeing that crew interact with each other is really entertaining stuff. Like, I thought that they felt like family. They were people. I was invested in them. I saw that after the movie because during the movie, I was not invested in them. And when they died, I just went, oh, look, one of the women who has the same mousy hair has died. I don't know which one, but they're dead now. Oh, look, one of the beefy, strong guys with an accent is dead. Which one? Couldn't tell you his name. Oh, look, the other one's trying to kiss him. They must have been in love. You know, and yeah. Like, so you said Ridley Scott did Blade Runner. Ridley Scott did Alien. We know from outside of this universe other things that they've done, much like I'm complaining about, that Blade Runner and Alien are the same universe. The replicants in Blade Runner are in some way related to the androids from this, because there's this whole like Wayland Corporation in Alien, and Weyland-Yutani is a corporation in Blade Runner, and there's this like crossover between them. So you got two of those two movies came out this year. You could have done some crossover with that, and the only real crossover is again in bullshit marketing that has to do behind the scenes.
Maybe they will in Blade Runner 2049
and Alien Awakening.
They won't.
Wait for it, Kevin.
So I'm waiting for it. What are you giving this movie? Well, Guardians was an 11. Ghost in the Shell was like 4. What are you giving this movie?
Whoa, Ghost in the Shell was a 1.
Oh, okay, 1 for Tim. Average out with me to a 4.
Okay, so on a scale of 1 to 10, I would honestly give this like a 2.
Oof.
I really couldn't give it any more than that, because scientifically it made 0 sense to me. Plot-wise, it made 0 sense to me. These are people who were designed to get to a new planet, evaluate its viability for human habitation, figure out whether the colonists would live there and start a colony. These are rugged, hardy people, and they just did everything wrong. These were basically space Mr. Magoo, just bumbling around going, golly, I just had a space virus. No, I'm out.
Awesome. 2, Alien Covenant, don't go see it. We didn't talk about like a lot of stuff. There's a ton of Alien stuff out there. Books. There's really good games. Alien Isolation was a fantastic game made with the help of Sega that came out not too long ago, and it did take some of the aspects of the original Alien and brought it to a game, being first person, being really kind of spooky and eerie, and that was a fantastic game, Alien Isolation. And we didn't really touch a whole lot about Alien versus Predator, which was a really cool fan service, if anything. It was like an alternate timeline, but bringing its own history about what the aliens interact with the predators and all that stuff. But visually, I think it was really cool to look at, if anything. That's all I got to say about Alien versus Predator. I don't know if Kevin, if you have
I liked
else.
him. I thought that those were great. I think that like genre of crossover movies was good. I'd like to do an episode of this podcast on it at some point, not next week, but at some point in the future, because you got Freddy versus Jason, Alien versus Predator, Batman versus Superman.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
I think we can put those all in conversation with each other.
Sure. Yeah, that's a future episode coming. And I don't know if you were gonna. I don't know. Whatever. We'll post a bunch of stuff, what we're doing and all that on nerdythingspod.com. Now patreon.com/nerdythingspod. Go check that out. We might post some stuff. We'll let you know. But what are we doing for next week?
Ah, shit.
Every time,
Baywatch.
guys. Baywatch. Yeah, no.
Baywatch.
We're going to do Baywatch?
No.
I want to do Baywatch.
We can talk.
Actually,
we can watch it.
It could be really funny.
Let's go watch it.
Pirates also.
That's what I was going to say.
Guys.
Do y'all really want to watch Pirates? And let's get into Pirates of the Caribbean.
No. I honestly would rather do Baywatch. Like Baywatch, I'm super excited about.
What if we do both? What if we attempt to do both, and if one is a clear winner,
yes,
we come back with that one.
All
Jules,
right.
you in for that?
Yeah, I've been meaning to.
Like, let's say Baywatch hits, and it's really good,
it's
right?
Really not.
And The Rock is really good, and Efron does his thing. Like, let's say that movie hits, and it's really good, right?
Uh-huh.
And then Pirates is not good.
They're saying that one's
so
not
we do most of the episode on Baywatch and then do like 5 minutes on why Pirates was bad, or if somehow Pirates hits and goes back to when it was once decent, and Baywatch is a dumpster fire, then we do 90% of the episode on why Baywatch was a dumpster fire and 5 minutes on when Pirates really good. What if we did that?
So from what people are saying, both of these sucked. So what's the topic for next? No, yeah, we'll do both of those.
Movies that sucked.
Yeah, movies that sucked next week, and listen to us talk about all the movies that sucked that are coming out and that are not Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes.
Or we could just do another Guardians episode if it's really that bad.
Nice.
Yeah, there you go. So it's going to be 30% Baywatch, 30% Pirates of the Caribbean, and then the rest of it Guardians, some more Guardians talk. Whatever, we'll figure it out for next week. Go ahead and stay tuned to that. We release a new episode every Thursday. Nerdy Things Podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, anywhere you find podcasts. Go find us on social media at Nerdy Things Pod, on everything, Patreon. We got a website, all that stuff. We're
taking over the internet, guys.
Yeah,
we're taking over the internet. We're everywhere.
We're everywhere. I want to thank Adipsia for the use of his song "Friends Don't Let Friends Go to TGI Fridays." You can hear, not see. You can't see music. Well, some people can, but you can hear more of his stuff at adipsia.bandcamp.com. He just released an album called The Stoic. Go check that out. Go listen to it.
The Stoic.
Every week. Yeah.
If you can see music, you may want to go see a doctor.
No, that's actually a thing. That's a thing. You didn't know?
I know.
Cool.
And you definitely want to get it checked out. And I also want to thank the Bell Curve for the music under the main topic.
Very cool.
Didn't in Phenomenon, didn't he see music? He saw music in Phenomenon.
No, some of my friends in college did have that. It's called synesthesia. And
synesthesia.
Yeah, you can do that. See colors and all.
Acid.
It's called being awesome. Your superpowers that you can see music. Yeah. I am in.
All right. Anyway, see y'all ending the episode. All right. Talk to y'all
later.